Hello and welcome to another episode of Interview with a Schizophrenic. I'm your host, Duncan Samrasinger, and today I have the great pleasure of Tony. He is from Oklahoma in America. He's in his 40s and he has a schizoaffective bipolar type diagnosis. So welcome to the show, Tony. How are you doing today?
I'll tell you right up front, Duncan. When we talked a week ago about scheduling this podcast to do this interview, I thought I was going to be a put together representation of what a person with schizoaffective disorder looks like. I was going to represent the people well. I was going to put forth my best face. I have had one of the worst nights, maybe the worst night in my schizoaffective life. Just tonight, I've been up all night, and now it's noon here in Oklahoma, and you just happened to catch me on the day of my worst day.
Do you want to tell us about that?
This will be an interesting interview.
Okay, fine, man. What happened? What did you get triggered or something?
You know, I've had some triggers building over the last and right now the supposed people who are targeting me are blasting my head with microwave energy. Is supposedly what's happening now. About 80% of my belief system says that's true, and about 20% believes that it's not, and that I have an illness. That, of course, is the delusion.
You know, I've also got a very stable delusion, which I quietly accept about myself, which normal people would think, "Oh, what's he on about?" But so okay. I can see where you're coming from there. You know, right. I have a delusion which I accept myself and I live by. And I think, yeah, that's what I think it is, and that's it. It works for me, and I'm happy with that.
Well, I wish mine worked a little better than it works. It causes me a lot of problems, and but yeah, I believe that I'm being targeted by the deep state here in America, and that they are using microwave, a new technology that's unknown, that is where they can shoot microwaves into your body and pinpoint your brain or any part of your body they want. And they're doing that to me, and all night last night I had pain all over different parts of my body at varying times. I was in just agony all night, and then I experienced voices 24/7 all day, every day, and I have for the last 5 years. So they were very busy last night, telling me all kinds of different lies and maybe some truths. Who knows? So I was up all night last night dealing with that, and here I am now. Yeah.
So how are you feeling now? I mean, you're giving me, you sound okay, kind of thing, but is it just kind of like, this is just a daily occurrence for me, so I've got no choice, got to just get through it somehow?
Well, not really. I mean, this is what I'm going through right now. Is not a daily occurrence, Duncan. It's what's happening is I'll just be completely honest with you, man. I'm going to be very bare, very, very, to the core here. Earlier tonight, for me, it's still nighttime. So, because I've been up all night. Earlier today, I cried and laughed at the same time for about at least 20 minutes straight.
Okay.
And I was crying and laughing at the same time because I was in such a whirlwind of not knowing what's real, what's fake, what is hallucination or delusion, and what is illness. And I don't know what's real anymore right now. Now, I have gone through plenty of times where I felt like I was the other way. I was 20% delusions, 80% belief in my illness. So it varies. Every day is an adventure. And so what I'm basically doing is laughing through the pain right now.
So do you want to talk about your delusion? I mean, it's up to you. We can go into it a little bit more deeper. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
Because, I mean, what I'm wondering, like, so do you believe because I've heard people talk about voice to skull technology,
Right.
and this kind of was it MKD or there was
MK
like
Ultra.
MK Ultra, yeah, MK Ultra. That was like a CIA project or something, where they were developing this technology.
Right.
Um, but I mean, personally, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. But
Okay.
I mean, my explanation is kind of a little more Lords of the Rings sort of thing rather than Star Wars. Mine's Lord of the Rings, I guess.
Oh,
But
okay.
I mean,
I like
like
that. I like that. I'd much rather live in Lord of the Rings than in Star Wars.
yeah. So what? I mean, so what do you experience? What were you experiencing last time? What if you give us like give us an insight for people who don't really know what happens in a severe psychotic break?
Yeah, that's a great call. So basically, throughout the night, things built up, and it was a progression of I would feel a buzzing or like an electrical current running through a particular part of my body, let's say my foot, and it would start out small and then build up on in one foot until it would cramp up my foot and my toes would curl. And so it would be, if you've ever had a foot cramp that curls your toes, you know how bad those can be, and that's what would basically happen. I have scoliosis in my back too, and so they love to target my back, where my scoliosis is in my lower back. So I had a lot of lower back pressure and intense pain all night, and as I said, it built. Now I've been getting worse for a couple of weeks because the voices have told me that and this is some people call this like gang stalking. You've heard that,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
So the voices have told me that some of the people that I am friends with are now the voices have talked to them and turned these people against me. And so so that's one delusion that I struggle with of constantly being, trying to check everyone and see who's telling the truth and who's not. Like I said, I vary back and forth a little bit, one way and then the other, and every day is different. So last night, what I would do is I would play music or listen to a podcast or watch a YouTube video and to drown out the sound of the voices. And then I would stop for a minute, and I always have this thing where I think that they're going to give me some valuable information. Excuse me. And so I I would listen to them occasionally. I would turn off the music, get everything quiet, and just listen to the voices. And they would tell me things like, this is a worldwide network where everyone is connected voice to skull. And we can all listen to each other. If you just think about someone, you can, and you listen to them, you can connect with them, brain to brain, basically, and you can affect their physical realm as they are affecting mine in the form of static electricity in my body and muscle spasms and pain. So I went through a thing, Duncan. This is gonna either make you laugh or cry or hang up. I don't know, but I went through a thing where I decided that my family would want me to fight this if there was a way to fight these people.
Okay.
So what I did is I put together a plan of how to fight. I spent a couple of hours putting together a very detailed plan of how to fight back against the deep state of America. and a very small, easily attained task. So I'm telling you, oh my goodness. And so I put together this plan, and then I I was confused, and I was a little manic. So I suffer from bipolar schizoaffective disorder, which means that I have the ups and downs.
Yeah.
Now I've recently started taking Cymbalta. I'm sorry, Cymbalta, and it has gotten rid of my depression, for the first time in my life, and I'm 46 years old, almost 47.
Okay.
So that is a blessing, but it's also a little bit of a curse because now I am up a lot. I'm elevated a lot, right?
Yeah.
I no longer have the lows that come with the depression, but I still sometimes experience the highs that come with the mania or hypomania, whatever you call it. And so,
I would think, I would think that perhaps you're going to say this is that the mania can affect your judgment of the delusions as well.
completely.
Because it can, yeah. You know what I mean? It can make you, like creating a plan against the deep state of America would be kind of some kind of hypermania, I would think.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, normal people, I mean, to use that word, normal people, the people who don't have this illness do not go around doing that for fun at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night. So, and so so I did that. I created the plan. I then realized after I ended up talking to my sister at one point because I needed to reach out to someone, and I talked to her, and she is my older sister, and she's a huge help, just one of the best people on the earth, and she's always there for me, and so is my friend Russell. And I talked to him, and I talked to my sister, and they both said, look, do whatever you need to do. And so I started recording the ambient noise of my living room so that I could record these voices and I would have something on tape. And I just made a part of my plan was I was going to take this recording to an audio engineer to break it down and find the voices that are within this audio.
Okay, fine. I think one of the most frustrating aspects of a schizo spectrum disorder, where you have auditory hallucinations, is that nobody else can hear them. It's kind of an isolating experience that we go through. That we can hear these hallucinations, but we can't share them with anybody else.
It's so isolating. That's the perfect word for it. Yeah. And one thing too that's really hard about that is people can't fathom how hard it is for you to second guess what your senses are telling you is true.
Yeah, that's
Right. Your
right.
five, your
Exactly.
five, your five
Exactly.
senses
Exactly.
say this is what you're
Yeah.
seeing or hearing or whatever. And
Yeah.
then you have to tell yourself these
That's
senses
right.
that have
Yeah.
been supplying this
That's right.
data for 46 years, I now have
Yeah.
to not trust those senses.
That's
And
right.
it's
Yeah.
really hard to do,
Yeah.
as
It's
I'm
like
sure you know.
as if it's like as if you have to defragment your mind. You have to compartmentalize. You have to separate parts of it so that,
Yes.
because some parts are just going crazy and you can't trust them anymore. So you've got
That
to
right.
I'll sit in the side of my mind that still works. That, and it's weird, but I know exactly what you mean. I never
You're
thought about
right.
that, but it is because everything we perceive is in our minds, and that's what's malfunctioning. So
Yeah, and so for decades, as long as you've been alive, your brain has been putting these signals your senses have been putting these signals into your brain and saying this is what is your reality. And
yeah.
all of a sudden, it's like no, and so it's like it's basically if I was looking at the television while I'm sitting in the living room with everyone else, sitting around and we're all watching a movie, and I don't see a television, I see a pink elephant, and I say, guys, what is this pink elephant doing? And everyone else says, that's a television. And I go, oh boy, this is so you're exactly, I like what you said though about compartmentalizing. You have to separate these parts of your brain, and you learn to identify what are the sane normal thoughts and what are my illness thoughts, and where do these go, where do I put them, and then you draw from which well you feel like drawing from at that time. And unfortunately I've heard from a lot of schizoaffective schizospectrum people who enjoy the hallucinations and delusions, they like that. It's exciting to them. And I understand that concept. I don't feel like I subscribe to that as much. I'm not really, if I could get rid of these suckers, I would be very happy to. But I will say this, what I'm doing right now is a lot of that compartmentalization that you're talking about.
Right, yeah.
Because I'm able to function and sound, I'm sure I sound like a normal guy. And on one part of my brain is going absolutely psycho right now, going the voice, because the voices are talking to me right now and they're hitting my head with these rays. So it's just, it's a wild ride. It really is. And, I said also earlier, every day, it is a little exciting that every day is something new. I never know in my life what's going to happen.
Exactly. In a way, we do go, we're privileged that we go through an experience that 99 people out of 100 will not know anything about.
Yeah.
So we will always have that different life experience of other people. So I mean, what I was going to say to you, I'm just about, you're telling me about these microwave signals and and people turning against you. If I was a psychiatrist, I would say, well, Tony, that's a persecutory delusion. How do you feel about it? Have they told you about that? And have you considered that?
Certainly. And Duncan, I've done a lot of my own research. I mean, mostly because, excuse me, mostly because I am in a low income bracket. I get a lot of free healthcare and or subsidized in some way, lower priced income based healthcare. And so my mental care comes at a reduced cost and therefore usually a reduced product that you receive. And so what I run into is I had to kind of do my own research and school myself. And I've become, over the last 5 years, I've become pretty knowledgeable about what all that is, the delusions, the different types of delusions and all of that. So yeah, and I hear maybe a little concern in your voice, maybe, and I like that. Thank you for that. But I do know what these are, and I know how to identify them. And I tell you, what's so crazy or funny, whenever something like that happens, I immediately know what it is. Right. So it's as if my mind is split in two, and part of my mind goes, that's true. And the other part goes, well, that's this type of delusion, right? And I go, yeah, I know, but it's still true. So
yeah, like I say, I've got my own delusion. Okay, so my delusion is that certain people have psychic powers and they can speak to me via telepathy, and I'm a targeted individual. So that's kind of my delusion. I don't dwell on it too much. I kind of let it go out there. I think if I'm hearing voices, I think, okay, it's a psychic phenomenon, and I leave it at.
I see.
But and that, to you, that's probably like, why the hell is he not thinking about microwaves? So I mean, you know what I mean?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to throw you a curveball here because I was just thinking about what we're talking about, and like in America, like the movie industry, like they produce some, like the movies they produce today are pretty far out there, like superhero movies. It's not depicting real life,
right?
But people, like the general public, accept this. So I think a lot of people have kind of like mental issues. They think they've got their own fantasies. If we don't call them delusions, we can call normal people having fantasies.
Yes.
They believe they're superheroes, or they, because I saw on TV about one American guy driving a Batmobile, and
right.
do you know what I'm getting at? It's like
totally.
There's a lot of fantastical thought that goes in the normal person's life that's out there.
Now, Duncan, is that because of Hollywood? Is that a Hollywood thing, or is that because I thought that was present in most countries? Is it not?
I think America, is still ahead in terms of progressive society than the rest of the world. Like in Britain, we're more reserved, and if you're rebellious, you kind of get mocked a little bit or ostracized. Where I think
Oh,
in America, if you're rebellious, there's going to be a subculture. There'll be a subculture for that. So if you're a Star Trek fan, there's thousands of people who are also Star Trek fans, and
yes.
you can go to a conference. But in Britain, like if you're a Star Trek fan, yeah, well, okay, fine, it's not a big deal. They're not going to celebrate it. You know, it's kind of we're kind of more, I guess, maybe narrow minded, I suppose,
Okay,
which is
right. I see.
different. Whereas there's kind of more like a set life path for people in this country. Whereas I think
Hmm.
in America, you know, to me, I just see like you can have there's a lot of subcultures, which makes it kind of interesting.
Right.
Um, so that is kind of where I was coming from because I'm just thinking that you know that like art is it when they say art mimics life or something? Um, you know,
Yes.
like the production of the popular media is a reflection of the average person's psyche, if you know what I mean. Because so we see like in the 1980s, the films were and the 70s, the films were much more realistic. Like we like
Right.
in an action film, the guy did not jump off on an airplane to another airplane.
Right.
They're kind of more normal. Whereas today
Yes.
they can like fly and shit. You know, they can do
You're
all this
right.
extra
Yeah.
stuff.
Everything is a superhero now. Everybody is.
Exactly.
Like even
Exactly.
like Die Hard, started out as, just John McClane, in
Yeah.
the up there doing his thing. Now he's a superhero.
Yeah.
So all,
Yeah.
all all characters in
Yeah.
America eventually turn into a superhero caricature, basically. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that you're exactly right. One thing that stuck out to me in what you were saying is that you know rebels maybe because of our founding, the how we were founded, rebels are celebrated in America. I'm sure that everybody knows that,
Yeah.
but they are not just acceptable. Rebels are idolized in America.
Yeah.
And if you are not a rebel, then you are what is now just becoming like hip is a nerd, which a nerd is
Yeah.
someone, of course, in America is someone who loves Star Trek, or they have this one thing
Yeah.
that's not cool to like that thing. You need to be smoking cigarettes and getting drunk or whatever, right? So that's the cool guy.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, no, to me, it's like all the modern films of America, like social culture. It's all about having a drug dealer on speed dial. You know, it's much
Right,
more accepted and like getting banged up in prison. Yeah,
right.
man, that's cool. You know, it's kind of and I like that. I like that as well. And I just think it's a reflection. It's the way society's progressing, I guess. Um,
Yeah, it's a great point.
and what you're talking about, rebel culture. Yeah, it makes sense. It does actually
Yeah.
make sense.
Now I will say this: I think that some people, it does affect their, how they end up living their life, because, like you said, life imitates art, and so there's definitely an element of that in America, I believe.
Yeah,
Now, when you have a situation like mine, I don't believe that mine. What happened to me was basically this: to boil it all down.
yeah,
Excuse me. I started hearing voices first, and what my brain did was said, well, I have to decide what that is that I'm hearing, right? What is that?
mm,
And so my brain said, okay, well, is it someone in the other room? Is it someone, now I'm hearing way too many voices for it to be someone in the other room, and I'm hearing them way too clearly. How am I hearing all these voices? Who
mm,
are these people? Why are they in my head? So I went through, hundreds of scenarios of what this could be. So for me, a sort of idealization of what my life could be like, I wasn't really there, because I'll tell you, Duncan, here's the deal. This is going to blow your mind. When I was in my early 20s so from about 20 to age 30, about 10 years, I was a traveling rock and roll musician in
really?
America.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So you want to talk about the rebel culture? I was it. I lived that life of a rock and roll. Every night in a different bar across the country, just playing gigs, and so
Yeah, that's awesome.
well, it was a great fun 10 years for sure. It was my career during that time, and I still play music, I still love music, but it's not my real thing anymore. But yeah, so I already had a life like that, and then I was ready to get out of that, and I didn't feel like I
Yeah.
needed any more superhero life. When I got out of the band scene, I was ready for a normal life.
Yeah.
So when this hit me, it was more of a, oh dang, what is this now? It definitely wasn't any kind of an idealization that somehow brought me into delusional thinking. It
But
was all of a sudden I'm hearing these voices. What do I do now?
when I said persecutory, that's what I would say it is, because you believe you're a targeted individual.
Yes.
And yeah, man. So maybe you got to work on that. You kind of like I don't know, man. It's just because I know it can be quite a scary place to be, because I believed that I've been a targeted individual as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of can be frightening and stressful. You know,
Oh, so
so
stressed, so
just why
scary.
don't you
Yeah.
believe in something which is kind of easy and harmless? Do you know
Right.
what I mean? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well, no, I love that. Well, real quick, then let me interrupt and ask you, if I may. And of course, I don't know what you do on the show. But can you tell me what who's targeting you, or would you rather not say?
Okay, so at the moment, I believe that it's psychic, and I believe that a couple of my friends have a telepathic power.
Uh huh.
That's what I currently believe, and I don't think about it too much, but that's my current belief. But in the
Right.
past, I have thought about religious cults.
Yes.
I have thought about technology in my head. Um, I have thought about the FBI, aliens,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Aliens.
virtual
I'm on that
reality.
train.
Yeah, of all of that stuff. I've gone through all of that, and I've
Yes.
let all of it go apart from the psychic activity. And
Yes.
I kind of think the voices can't hurt me, um, and and I can gain information which may be useful. Um, so I don't try to do anything special. I just lead my life normally, but I kind of think that's what I experience.
Yeah, I
And
love it. I wish that I could get to a place like you said of of believing in that if you're gonna have delusions, it would obviously be great if they weren't that big of a deal, right? Like
yeah.
if they were, oh no, there's one guy thinking about me in Toledo, Ohio.
Exactly.
That would be
Exactly.
much better than the
Yeah.
deep state,
Less stressful, right? Less stressful. You
Yes.
know.
Well, and so how long, first of all, does medicine work for you to clear up any of your delusions or hallucinations?
So I take a Lanzipine, which was Iprexa.
Right.
Um, I take 12.5 milligrams, and I still hear voices daily. I've
Hmm.
been hearing voices daily since 2010.
Okay.
Um,
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
so it's been a long time. Um, and I just put music on, or
Yeah.
I just sit there, but I'm determined to get on with myself, get on with my life. I'm not. I don't want to. I'm determined. I've got a strong determined streak in me, and and like the person who's psychically harassing me, I have attempted to confront them, and I have posted on Facebook, please stop. So
Yeah.
I mean, I have done things like that where that's difficult because it's kind of unprecedented. But yeah, so that's kind of what I believe.
Right. Okay. Well, I was just wondering if you like, for me, medicine, and like I said, the Cymbalta has basically, I hate to use the word, but really, it's been 8 months now, and I have not had a depressive episode in 8 months. So, that's the longest I've ever gone. So that's great. But I just started with Invega now. Duncan, I've taken over 20 different antipsychotic medications in the last 5 years. So and none of them have touched the voices at all. So go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, for one thing, I would say, I mean, my doctor won't change my medication. I can't change a Lanzipine. She's like, no, we can change the dosage, but we're not changing the drug. So I'm like, okay, fine. So, but the only thing I would say is that maybe you need to give it some time as well. If you've been changing that amount of drugs in that short period of time, you probably haven't been on them for long enough. Okay. I don't know. I can't make that judgment, but I'm just saying, as a possibility, that might be it, but it might not be. But that's all I would say.
I appreciate that and that input. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something to look at because, in 5 years being on, that many, I mean, that's a different drug every 3 months.
So you're leading us to say, well, if the drugs don't work, what the hell is it, right?
No, not at all. What I was wondering is, so are the drugs working for you? Well, it's a lot easier, and I was going to say, well, they don't work for me. It's a lot easier, I think, to curtail your delusions when the drugs are helping, right? And definitely, it's a lot easier to not listen to those voices when the antipsychotic medication you're on has deadened them a little bit and made them quieter. It's way easier to avoid them. But so I will say this though. Here's the thing. I went for probably a year out of a good 6 months out of the last 5 years where I never ever listened to the voices, and they still irritated me because I knew they were there. And in moments where I got caught without my earbuds in and a podcast playing or without music available, where I could not drown them out, and I was just sitting in silence somewhere, that was the scariest moment for me. But, I went about 6 months straight where I never dealt with them at all. And I felt like I was on my way to recovery, or as much as one can. And then I guess in the last year, I would call it a relapse, that I have gone backwards. And, and it's weird that I've gone backwards while my depression was fixed for the first time in my life after 46 years.
I mean, you know something? I mean, my antidepressants, they also work for me as well. But the antipsychotics, they can't. It works to a certain extent, but it doesn't do everything. Yeah. So.
Right. Well, I like your idea though. I like the concept of, let's, you can't ever prove delusions. That's kind of the definition, right? Is that you are deluded. You're not thinking correctly. Yeah. And so, I make up evidence and I connect things that aren't connected. And then everyone else says, hey, Tone, you're connecting these two things and they're really not connected, or that thing doesn't really mean what you think, what you're saying it means. It's just an occurrence, not a fact or a smoking gun. And so, I think that Duncan, as I get better, I think that I will, as time goes on, I think that I will, someday find the right medication. It took me 8 years to find the right depression medication. So, I've been in this 5 years. Who knows? Maybe on year 10 where you're at, I will find something. But the other thing is, I am hopeful. I believe that I have the tools to fix this, and I've just been in a bad place recently. And I think I'll turn it around. I really do.
Okay, man. I think, we've gone slightly over time today, so we're going to wrap it up. I just want to say a few more things. Tony does have his own podcast. What is your podcast? It's Kick the Cool, is it?
Yes, it's a comedy podcast where me and my two siblings And I know that it's a little strange after the discussion we just had to say, go listen to this comedy, but hey, maybe you need a good laugh after this. But it's a comedy podcast, and we just started this year, and it's called Kick the Cool. And it's me and my two siblings where it's a review show where we give you the reviews you didn't know you needed. So we review things that you didn't even know you wanted to be reviewed, right?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna tune into that, and what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description of this episode.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure, Tony. It's slightly different today because, it was there was a real natural flow. I think with this. You're a great talker, I think. And
hey, thank you. I think, Duncan, I felt like we could have gone on for 3 hours.
Yeah,
really.
We could have gone on for longer. I know, but my podcast host people wouldn't have let me put any more episodes up. So
I see. Okay.
Okay, fine.
Great talking to you.
Yeah, and one last thing. What type of music do you like so I can add that on to the end of the show?
What a hard choice. Right now I am really into the band Haim, Haim.
Okay.
And
what music do they play?
It's kind of it's a 3-girl band, and it's a little bit electronic, but it's very mellow and fun. So
okay, cool. I'll look them up and I will try and play something of that type.
Oh, that'd be great.
Okay, man. So I think we can end it here. It was really fantastic. Great pleasure to speak with you, Tony. And I wish you all the success with your podcast. And I hope both of us can maybe one day deal with our delusions. I don't know.
Right. Duncan, thanks for having me on. And I tell you, I'm glad that you're able to deal with your delusions better than I am right now. And, I hope that, that you can continue.
One, man. Just choose the less stressful one.
That's right. I'm going to do that today after I go to sleep.
Okay.
You think we're okay, baby, you're dreaming. You brought this on us and you don't know how deep it cuts. No, you don't know how much it hurts.